Hello, my name is Matthew Pfeiffer with MattPfeifferCoaching.com. Welcome to my YouTube channel. On this channel, I create videos and content about narcissistically abusive relationships, self-development, and other relationship issues. And so if you have a question that you'd like for me to answer, make sure that you send it to justaskmatt@MattPfeifferCoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt@MattPfeifferCoaching.com. Just make sure you keep that email 2 to 3 paragraphs max. You're also very direct and to the point of what your question actually is. If it's too long, if it's too lengthy, or if I don't understand what you're asking, unfortunately, I will not be able to get to it. Also, make sure you hit the subscribe notification and the bell notification so you're notified each and every time I upload a new video. I upload new videos on this channel 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Also, if you need more direct help, you can always become a member on this YouTube channel. I have additional training, additional videos that I have to offer, depending on which tier that you have to offer. I also offer a lot of discounts on a lot of different services that I offer. With all that being said, let's get into today's email. Today's email comes from a person who is struggling with a situation with her significant other because she posted some pictures of herself, or let me rephrase, she sent some pictures of herself to some family members, and her significant other does not really care for that too much. And that's something that's very common these days. So let's get into this and let's see if we can help her out, and let's see if we can help out other people who might have similar situations. So, hi Matt, I've listened to a lot of lives that you did and realized that my spouse is extremely jealous. I feel like he meets a lot of categories of a toxic person. I've been learning a lot from you. He also is an alcoholic, which plays into the toxicity. So for those of you who don't know, so toxicity, so let's talk about toxicity a little bit versus narcissism. So narcissism is when we talk about NPD, right, we have a lot of different criteria that people meet, but we also have to understand that pretty much everyone has some levels of toxicity, and they come out in a lot of different ways. So what is toxic behavior? Right, it's when people begin to allow for certain insecurities, certain unhealed trauma to overwhelm them and to impact other people. Right, so you can have some toxic behavior like this person is talking about, jealousy. Right, you can be a jealous person and be very toxic, and if you don't know how to regulate your emotions, and if you don't know how to talk and communicate properly, and you allow for those big emotions like jealousy to overwhelm you, you can then begin to be very toxic to other people who don't deserve to be treated that way. So let's get back into this. I want to kind of explain that because a lot of times, especially nowadays, and I'm someone who talks about narcissism, but I don't even like this very much. A lot of times people will talk about narcissism and they pin every single bad behavior, and they see one bad thing about someone and they automatically say that person is a narcissist. That's not true. Someone can be jealous, and are narcissists jealous? Yes, they can be, right? So does jealousy mean that someone is a narcissist? No, it does not, right? Cheating is another thing, right? Yes, it's common for a narcissist to cheat, but does that mean that every single person who is cheated is a narcissist? No, right? So that's the reason why. So she's obviously in a lot of my lives where I do a lot of this type of discussion. So it's the reason why she's using the word toxicity versus narcissism. Long story short, I've been working out and taking progress pics. The pictures I've taken are of me in my underwear. The image does not show my entire body. It shows the side view of my butt, not my entire butt, but from behind, but my face is cropped out. I use these photos to take side by side to measure progress of my thigh and butt. I sent them to him, my mom, and my cousin. People I know wouldn't show these pics to anyone because I am a private person. I'm a private person. He went on to ask who I sent these to, and I responded, and he got super upset and made it the end of the world. These pictures are not revealing whatsoever. So one of the things I want to mention here, let's put a bookmark right here. Right. So one of the things that happens, and that's common with all couples, not just ones that are struggling with toxicity. We have to understand that most arguments, most situations where there's disagreements, and there's nothing wrong with disagreements. There's actually nothing wrong with this disagreement either. Right. But what we have to understand is that most of the issue is perception. Most of the issue is perception. For you, you may not have felt like these pictures were very revealing. For him, he may have felt like they were extremely revealing, right? Is he wrong for that? No. Are you wrong for that? No. But we have two opposing disagreements and two opposing perceptions. And the reason why I want to point this out is that for a lot of people who are struggling in relationships, when we begin to look at it like that, and a lot of times where people make mistakes is that they dig their heels in, right? And they want to prove that I'm right based on something that is a perception, right? And I want to prove that I'm right. And one things that we have to understand about disagreements, if you're 100% right, that means that your significant other is 100% wrong, which that means that if you win the argument, you really actually lost, and vice versa. What we're looking for is for both people to see if there's somewhere where we can meet in the middle. And that's how we handle disagreements. That's how we handle when people have opposing views, understanding. And one of the things I tell people, I don't do couples anymore, so do not book couples with me at all, right? But when I did do couples, one of the things that I told them is to actually find where your significant other is correct. And that's scary for a lot of people, because that means that I have to allow for myself to be not necessarily wrong, but I have to give up some of my position. And that's scary for a lot of people, right? But we have to remember that this is our partner, right? This is our partner. So find where they are actually correct, and then begin to build and construct where you can have some compromise within that realm, right? So an example like this, I can see why you might feel like this is overly revealing. I don't feel that way, right? But I can understand why you might feel that way, right? Can we turn the dial? One of the things that I talk to a lot of people about is turning the dial, right? If I can turn the dial this way a little bit further towards your direction, can you, in a situation like this, are you upset about this being sent to my cousin, or is it my mom, or is it both? What is it that you're really upset about, right? And start to talk about the real actual issue, which is the perception, right? The perception. And what you're going to find out is that when we start to find compromise and when we start to actually negotiate different positions, people don't like talking about this type of stuff when it comes to relationships. They think that everything should just be easy. Everything should just flow naturally. That's not true. Relationships are all about negotiating and finding that sweet point, that sweet spot in the middle, and to be able to compromise in areas where people are insecure, in areas that people may have some unhealed trauma and that sort of thing. And that's the reason why we celebrate relationships that in a healthy way are able to last for a long period of time, because we know that people put that type of work in. Let's get back into that, and I'll explain that a little bit more. He went on to ask who I sent the photos to, and I responded, and he got super upset and made it the end of the world. For him, it may have been the end of the world, again, from his perception, right? Because one of the things that we have to understand is that we don't know his background, or at least I don't. This may have happened to him before, and it didn't. And even though this situation might be different than what he may have gone through before, right? I don't know his background. He may have some unhealed trauma in terms of being cheated on, and this is how it was discovered with previous relationships or previous 3 relationships. He may have had a terrible experience, and for a lot of guys, that has been the case, which is the reason why. Am I saying that women shouldn't send out photos and things like that? No, I'm not saying that at all. Right. But we have to understand that a lot of people, a lot of men, and a lot of people in general have unhealed trauma, and that may have been something that has happened to him in the past. And then when he saw this, that was his initial reaction, was to protect myself through jealousy and through those sorts of things. Right. So let's get back into this. And again, I'll explain that a little bit more. Now, these pictures are not revealing whatsoever, and I never post on social media. Anyway, I attached a screenshot of what he said to me. I'd love your input or advice. Also, this person mentioned a name. I'm not going to mention this person's name, but the person I mentioned in the screenshots is my little brother. So this person sent a screenshot of their back and forth. And to be perfectly honest with you, I think that this is a very normal argument between two couples, people and a couple who has a disagreement. So one of the things that I would encourage for you to do is for you to continue this conversation. So when I say continue the conversation, we have to understand that that this is not going to get resolved. A lot of times people want to resolve things when everyone is at level 10 with their disagreement, with their feelings, with their emotions, right? It's not going to work. Right? We have to continue to have dialogue. What a lot of people don't understand is about even in healthy relationships, sometimes disagreements last for days, weeks, even months. Right? So we need to continue to have dialogue and look for ways that we can meet in the middle. I think there's a lot of areas in this situation here that a lot of places that we can negotiate where both people are able to feel safe, are able to feel heard, and feel like you guys are one and like you're working together. But this conversation needs to continue, right? That's what needs to happen. And so this level of jealousy that you're talking about, it could be from a past wound. It could be from insecurities. It could be from, you mentioned also that he's struggling with alcoholism. I'm sure that there's been a lot of arguments. There may have been discussions about you possibly leaving over that. And he may feel like you have one foot out the door. And that's what he's seeing. That's his perception. Again, I don't know that because I don't know the details of everything previous to this situation. Right. But when we begin to understand our partners, remember, partner, right? When we begin to understand why and where our partner is coming from, a lot of times it makes that negotiation and that compromise a lot easier when we do understand where our partner is coming from. Am I telling you not to take pictures? Am I telling you not to send them to your family? No, I'm not saying that at all. Am I telling you to continue this dialogue and to find places in the middle where maybe both of you guys can bend and be flexible and turn that dial ever so slightly? You turn the dial a little bit more towards him so he can feel a little bit more safe and feel a little bit more comfortable. And he turns the dial a little bit more towards you, where you're still able to share and you're still able to feel comfortable in your own skin and share things. Yeah, I think there's a lot of room on both ends to be able to do that. Right? But it's going to take dialogue, it's going to take work, and it's going to take some healthy communication where you're talking in a way where you're not attacking each other, right? And keeping everything solutions-based, solutions-oriented, and talking about the perception of the way that things look, right? Almost like the two of you guys are sitting back and you're looking at a painting, right? And both of you guys are interpreting the painting of what this thing looks like. Right. And it's okay and the other thing that I would say is it's okay for him to be upset by this. Right. That's one thing that a lot of times people struggle with. It's okay. Right. He's allowed to have his feelings. He's allowed to feel to feel upset and jealous. And, at least from the things that I've heard and the things that I've read, I wouldn't say this is an unhealthy level of jealousy. Right. His feelings are hurt. Right. And that's okay. So when we begin to kind of dissect that, we begin to come from that place where we should be able to find some sort of compromise and some sort of place in the middle where everybody can win. Right. So thank you very much for writing in. Anyone else who would like to write in, make sure you send it to justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Again, that is justaskmatt@mattpfeiffercoaching.com. Keep the email 2 to 3 paragraphs max, and also very direct and to the point of what your question actually is. If it's too long, if it's too lengthy, unfortunately, I will not be able to get to it. With all that being said, thank you very much. Now we'll see you guys in the next video.